Scholars have studied the question of why civilizations end for a very long time. They have compared hundreds of civilizations from the Aksumite Empire to the Qin Dynasty, looking for similarities between all of them. They do this with the hopes of learning how to apply these comparisons to the challenges faced by modern civilizations. Not surprisingly, when they look at the numerous empires and dynasties that have risen and fallen over the past 5,000 or 6,000 years, a pattern emerges. So here are the top 5 symptoms historians observe prior to the collapse of a civilization. Climate change. You might be surprised to learn that climate change isn't a new threat to people and civilizations. When climatic stability changes, the results can be disastrous, resulting in crop failure, starvation, and desertification. The collapse of the Anasazi, the Tiwanaku civilization, the Akkadians, the Mayans, the Roman Empire, and many others have all coincided with abrupt climatic changes, usually droughts, and the obvious impacts on food production. In this context, climate change refers to changes that have no obvious connection to choices made by these people. In essence, it happened to them. While similar, the second symptom has a unique twist: environmental degradation. When societies overshoot the capacity of their environment, excessive deforestation, water pollution, soil degradation, and the loss of biodiversity, they eventually lose their ability to fend off the consequences of damage they made to the environment. So in this context, environmental degradation happens because of them and the short-sighted choices they made. The next symptom scholars always see prior to the collapse of a civilization is inequality and oligarchy. Historian Sir John Bagot Glubb describes it as the age of decadence in his book, Fate of Empires. Honestly, I'm just going to let him tell you what the final stages of a civilization look like. Now remember, this was written nearly half a century ago. Frivolity, aestheticism, hedonism, cynicism, pessimism, narcissism, consumerism, materialism, nihilism, fatalism, fanatics, and other negative behaviors and attitudes suffuse the population. Politics is increasingly corrupt, life increasingly unjust, a cabal of insiders accrues wealth and power at the expense of the citizens, fostering a fatal opposition of interests between haves and have-nots. The majority lives for bread and circuses. They worship celebrities and throw off social and moral restraints, shirk duties, but insist on entitlements. The next symptom of a declining empire may seem a little strange at first. Complexity. Joseph Tainter, a noted collapse expert and historian, has proposed that civilizations eventually collapse under the weight of their own accumulated complexity and bureaucracy. Societies are essentially a way for a group of people to solve problems. Their methods for solving problems grow in complexity in order to overcome new issues. The problem is that the complexity eventually reaches a point of diminishing returns. After this stage, collapse will eventually become inevitable. Have you ever had the feeling that things related to law or finance are shockingly complex and difficult to understand? Well, this is an example. Another method of describing increasing complexity is called energy return on investment, or EROI. This describes the ratio between the amount of energy produced by a resource relative to the energy needed to obtain it. EROI also appears to have a point of diminishing returns. Writer Thomas Homer Dixon observed in his book, The Upside of Down, the environmental degradation throughout the Roman Empire led to falling EROI from their staple energy source, crops of wheat and alfalfa. This is likely one of the burdens leading to the collapse of the Roman Empire. If these things haven't led to the collapse of a society up to this point, this final item is the proverbial straw that breaks the camel's back. The last item on the list is external shocks. These are things like war, natural disasters, famine, and pandemics. The Aztec Empire, for example, was brought to an end by Spanish invaders. Most early agrarian societies were short-lived due to deadly epidemics. The concentration of humans and cattle in walled settlements with poor hygiene made disease outbreaks unavoidable and devastating. The reason different civilizations collapse seldom follows the same path, but usually they begin to fail because of the convergence of many factors. The combined burden is like a combination of hits from a boxer on his opponent. While the first few hits may not bring the other fighter down, the combined effect of the unrelenting blows results in their collapse. What do you think? Do you see this list of pressures occurring simultaneously in any modern civilizations? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know in the comments.